I haven't forgotten about Iryna Zarutska. Let's talk about her case. Hi, I'm Maria Paula Bermeo, clinical psychologist, and on this channel we talk about various topics and we analyze them from a psychological point of view, so if you're interested, please keep on watching. Before starting this video, I want to remind you that I give in-person and online therapy, so if you need a consultation, please feel free to reach me out on my social media, my phone number, my email. All of them will be listed down below on the description box as well. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, it will help me out a lot, and also don't forget to leave your opinion on this topic on the comments down below. I was actually making this video until the whole Charlie Kirk thing happened. I had to talk about it ASAP. Then I also had my video on a Snoop Dogg ready, so that's why I have taken so long to talk about this specific situation. This hideous crime happened on August 22nd, so by now you most likely know what happened. You probably have watched the disturbing camera footage on social media, but if you're clueless about what actually went on, let me give you a brief summary of this entire situation. Iryna Zarutska was a Ukrainian 23-year-old woman who in 2022 escaped from Ukraine along with her family due to the current war with Russia. They fled to the US, Charlotte, North Carolina to be specific, in hopes to have a better, more peaceful life. They received their refugee status, making it easier for the family members to find jobs and start building said goal. Iryna worked at a pizza place, and on the night of Friday, August 22nd, as she usually did, she finished her shift. She took a train back home, but she didn't make it because a man named DeCarlos Brown stabbed her on the neck just because. Now, the footage that we have been able to access to went viral online 2 weeks after the crime happened, which is actually suspicious and already makes me think if the long silence towards this crime has some political, cultural implications, that they are trying to hide something because it doesn't fit a certain narrative. We all know that collective-wise there has been this narrative to protect the historically oppressed people, being black people one of those groups. That's why in 2020, for example, when the whole George Floyd thing happened, people marched, caused riots, put a black square as profile pictures online. It was a huge deal because they were fighting for the oppressed, for the victims, but aren't females also victims according to the same collectives? This crime was committed by a man against a woman that was just existing. I gotta say that in my eyes, crime is crime. I don't care who the perpetrator is, but I can't help but focusing on these progressive collectives that are supposed to fight for human rights, that haven't actually protested, haven't marched, haven't put hashtag justice for Iryna, which exposes their selective mindsets that will outrage only and exclusively for the things that benefit them and their agendas. Exposing DeCarlos Brown is not beneficial for them because he's black, Iryna is white, and for their dichotomous mind, well, they cannot defend the privileged whites, but that only exposes their cognitive dissonance once again, because these same people are supposed to advocate for women, but they cannot do it because she's white and it will go against their BLM narrative. But isn't that racist because they've remained silent towards a crime just because of the victim's race? That goes against their own principles, to be honest, because if race doesn't matter, if they really want equality, shouldn't they be asking for the criminal to pay for his crimes because justice should be equal for everybody, especially when it's kinda obvious that this man allegedly killed a woman just because of the color of her skin. That's a hate crime. And also something that I keep thinking about is about footage that showed the whole context in which this assassination took place. The wagon was only occupied by black people until Iryna got into the train. Then these individuals played a blind eye to the crime. Sure, it could have been because they didn't want to get hurt by Brown either, but Iryna's reaction has gotten stuck in my head. Her covering her mouth to avoid screaming because maybe she felt no one there was going to help her because the man was black, just as the other individuals on the wagon. Maybe she felt left out, threatened, discriminated. Maybe she felt stigmatized by the color of her skin. And sadly, even after her death, the silence from the media, from politicians, or even attempts to cover up this despicable event are discriminatory because of her race. And if you don't believe me, then why CNN downplayed this crime?
Hurt people hurt people. What happened was horrible, but it becomes an opportunity for people to jump on bandwagons. And then for someone like Charlie Kirk, he should be ashamed of himself. No one mentioned the word race, white, black, or anything except him. What people mention is the horror of what happened to this young woman.
Ironically, this man had to mention Charlie Kirk and tag him as a shameful person too, which I had a lot to say about on my video on Charlie. But also now race is not important for them, right? When they are the first ones to say whites are fascists, whites are racist, whites are assassins, whites are Hitler, but a black person killing a white person just because? Crickets. That weakens their entire message. They denied it to avoid assuming their wrongdoings because it doesn't benefit their agendas again. But not only that, you know, when a white person does something that could be perceived as mildly controversial and these individuals share it all over social media, blast their faces everywhere, stalk them, dox them, and even sue them. If they talk about equity, they would do the same towards anyone, no matter their race, right? Wrong. Instead, they try to hide it when it's not convenient for them and thank the ones doing the same because they are not contributing to the stigma towards certain groups, just as Charlotte's Democrat major did. Reacting to the video, Democrat major of Charlotte, B. Lyles, thanked our media partners and community members who had chosen not to repost or share the footage, a statement that drew outrage for many, including Republican members of Congress. Aren't they the ones always holding everyone accountable? Why can't they do the same with their people? First, because of denial, which is dysfunctional as it shows their lack of self-awareness, but also because they are so narcissistic they cannot admit their mistakes, but rather displays and project them on others as right-wing politicians. The killing of Zarutska has attracted substantial attention from MAGA firebrands such as Charlie Kirk and Laura Loomer on social media since the city's transit system released surveillance footage of the fatal stabbing on Friday. This horrible crime has now been seized on by Republicans to depict Democratic-run cities like Charlotte as being plagued by widespread violence and mayhem. Charlotte's police say violent crime so far this year is down 25% compared to last year. They have to tell you right-wing politicians are trying to weaponize this crime against them, so you don't listen to them because you may open your eyes. You may apply some rational and critical thinking and realize these other groups are the ones that are weaponizing information to brainwash their followers with their blindsided narratives that give you a distorted perspective of the world. It's not coincidental that pages as Wikipedia have also tried to wipe this crime from the internet, but they couldn't because people with common sense called them out. And it's also not coincidental that in George Floyd's bio, they had to highlight that he was killed by a white police officer, omitting the fact that he had some legal issues and also was under the influence at that exact moment. But in Iryna's bio, they omit the murderer was black, who is a career criminal that has been arrested like 13, 14 other times for various violent crimes. But the last time he was in jail, he was released by a black lesbian female judge who is not even a lawyer but was most likely chosen as a judge because she marked most, if not all, of the oppression, vulnerability points that are actually the most discriminatory ones, rather than showing capability and knowledge, which are far more important than how oppressed you are to give you a job and make up for your oppression. But anyway, as I mentioned, DeCarlos Brown is a career criminal. He has been in jail and released from it plenty of times, which has made people request for the death penalty. And actually, Pam Bondi, the US Attorney General, announced they were going to request for it to the judges in charge of Brown's case, which has caused a huge debate because many want to protect human rights, aka protect the criminal, and give this man mental health aid instead, and others just say kill the criminal. Discussion that sums up in the question, can a criminal like Brown really recover and reintegrate normally to society? I'm a psychologist, I study the human mind, and let me tell you that the chances of that happening are extremely low, and that's why I was baffled when I listened plenty of professionals or other politicians having similar positions to these ones that I'm gonna read. A response to a train stabbing death. Records showed the suspect in Zarutska's death, DeCarlos Brown Jr., had cycled through the criminal justice system for more than a decade. Brown had 14 prior cases in Mecklenburg County, where Charlotte is located, including serving 5 years for robbery with a dangerous weapon. He'd been briefly committed for schizophrenia and was arrested earlier this year after repeatedly calling 911 from a hospital. The Justice Department filed federal charges against Brown on Tuesday. In a statement after the August 22nd killing and Brown's arrest, Lyles said, "Tragic incidents like this should force us to look at what we are doing across our community to address root causes. We will never arrest our way out of issues such as homelessness and mental health." Then we have an interview with Alyssa Roth, the author of Insane: America's Criminal Treatment of Mental Illness. And she said the following: "My initial reaction is that this is a tremendous tragedy, and it's a tragedy for everybody involved. It's obviously a terrible, terrible tragedy for Ms. Zarutska and her family. It's also a tragedy for Mr. Brown. He's clearly a person who's in desperate need of help. He's a person who knew he needed help. He called the police asking for help, and he didn't get it. And so it's really a tragedy all around." Sure, you cannot arrest people out of mental illnesses. Sure, that man needs help. Nonetheless, this man is a long-time criminal who already comes from a family of criminals. So what are we supposed to do? This man is a danger to society. He cannot be outside. Let me explain further though. First, it's been revealed that DeCarlos Brown's father and brother have been sentenced to jail years ago, which signals to an already troubled home that has a great influence on how a child will develop. Iryna Zarutska's killer, DeCarlos Brown Jr., has a history of violence in his family, with both his father and brother having been arrested for shocking crimes. Brown's father, DeCarlos Sr., and older brother, Stacey Dejan Brown, were both imprisoned for violent crimes. Stacey is currently serving 27 to 36 years in prison for a 2014 murder. He, along with another man named Roderick Derrick, gunned down 65-year-old Robert Haim in Charlotte during a robbery, according to WBTV. In what can be considered a haunting parallel, Stacey took the Charlotte light rail to escape after the shooting. This media outlet that I will leave the link down below also interviewed a half-brother DeCarlos Brown has. His name is Jeremiah, and he had to say a lot of things too. Jeremiah also confirmed that his father has been involved in criminal activities in the past. He has prior arrests for breaking and entering, felony conspiracy, larceny, and a possession of a weapon on the University of North Carolina, Charlotte campus. DeCarlos Sear now lives near the university, but Jeremiah said he has not had much contact with his father. It doesn't seem as if his dad was involved in murder directly, but he stole. He probably participated in the planning of a murder, felony conspiracy. He had an illegal arm. I'm gonna guess that because this man was already involved in crime, he most likely was violent and aggressive, which is average criminal daily behavior basically. So if DeCarlos, being a kid, saw a significant figure in his life being aggressive, violent, or committing crimes, he normalized those behaviors, made them aspirational, then he replicated them because they were always common, and made them a habit. So he became a criminal himself. And number two, he most likely got traumatized for his dad's actions, but because people that become criminals usually lack from resources to heal, to address and manage the trauma, he could have developed a huge rejection to his dad. He most likely has tried to cope with by mechanisms as reactive formation and projection, meaning that he rejects his dad so much, but because he cannot take revenge on him, those damaging behaviors fell on himself by becoming a criminal just as his father. And also that desire of revenge got displaced to the rest of the world, which is dysfunctional but criminal conduct 101. He cannot hurt his father, so he hurts the rest of the world. His father has hurt him, so he has been so unhappy due to that, and then no one can be happy now either. But that's only the contextual, environmental side of Brown's mind. We still have the chemical, biological side left. We don't know much about Brown's mom, but we know his dad is a criminal and he's in jail, okay? So his dad already has the brain of a criminal, chemically altered already. Brown's dad's brain most likely already had a slow amygdala functionality, which allowed him to commit crimes. The amygdala is in charge of the emotional processing of experiences, but when it is slow, there is basically no emotion, so no remorse, no morals, no empathy. Also, criminals are typically substance consumers, which causes brain damage, particularly in the uncinate fasciculus. This is like a cable inside our white matter that is connected to our orbitofrontal cortex, the one that governs our impulses and decision making. When this cable is damaged, there is not impulse regulation, so the individual does things just because he wants to without thinking about the consequences, and they keep doing it because the amygdala is lacking, so they won't feel remorse either. That's why they just keep committing crimes and breaking the law without feeling guilt. DeCarlos already inherited those genes from his father, and if his brother has also been involved in criminal activities, well, he has been in an environment in which crime is just the norm, which enhances the manifestation of these genes, which simultaneously could be even more enhanced if DeCarlos consumes substances, which by the video of I Got the White Girl, I think he does. So he has damaged his already damaged genes more with substances, making him more prone to commit crimes, violent crimes that put others, a majority, in risk. And while some may argue that it would have been better if he had received mental health aid a long time ago to prevent this from happening, well, it is true. It's already too late. This man has grown up surrounded by crime. For him, that's just how life works. Hence why he has also committed crimes and altered his brain chemistry permanently because, let's be honest, he has become immune to violence. Quite literally. His literal biology doesn't allow him to feel anymore. His brain is already way too damaged to let him free and instead help him with mental health attention. People like DeCarlos Brown have a brain that won't connect with humans anymore, therefore they won't react to rehab successfully. There are cases of other mental illnesses, as alcohol addiction for example, in which reintegration to society has been possible, but keep in mind that it is because the patients still have some sort of empathy that awakens during the treatment, that motivates them and allows them to recover. But when we have inherited criminal genes, a damaged brain caused by substance abuse, and a criminal career of 14 years that has caused the individual to be literally chemically numb to everything, it's almost impossible for them to be normal. They, in my professional opinion, shouldn't be released at all. Am I saying death penalty should be the norm? I don't know, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a judge, nor an attorney, but I'm saying people like Brown cannot just receive therapy and continue with their lives. They have become a permanent danger, and releasing them will only cause us to have more tragic cases as the one that ended with Iryna Zarutska's life, which shouldn't be normalized nor defended. Is there something you learned from this video or something that you would like to add to the conversation? Leave it in the comments down below. Also, don't forget to like and share with someone that may find this useful, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel so that you never miss out on more interesting psychology content. Thanks for watching.